The Lord be with you. And with your spirit. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to share the inheritance with me." He replied to him, "Friend, who appointed me as your judge and arbitrator?" Then he said to the crowd, Take care to guard against all greed. For though one may be rich, one's life does not consist of possessions. Then he told them a parable. There's a rich man whose land produced a bountiful harvest. He asked himself, "What shall I do, for I do not have space to store my harvest?" And he said, "This is what I shall do. I shall tear down my barns and build larger ones. There I shall store all my grain and other goods, and I shall say to myself, 'Now as for you, you have so many good things stored up for many years. Rest, eat, drink, be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this night your life will be demanded of you, and the things you have prepared, to whom will they belong? Thus will it be for all who store up treasure for themselves, but are not rich in what matters to God.'" The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
This Gospel passage is one that I wish more parents would hear. Unfortunately, a lot of the parents aren't bringing their kids to Mass during the summertime. For some reason, they seem to think that when we have summer break from school, we don't have to go to Mass. Parents who are hearing me say this, thank you for dragging your kids kicking and screaming to Mass. But what is life about? What is life about? I think we teach a wrong message so many times in so many different ways. When we ask kids right and left as they're growing up, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And a lot of it is asking, what do you want to get in life? How many possessions do you want to be able to afford? What kind of lifestyle do you want to be able to afford? What kind of way of living? What kind of cars do you want to be able to drive? What kind of work shifts do you want to have? These are the things that people are largely thinking of when we ask the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? In truth, the question as Catholics and as Christians we should be asking children is, what does God want you to be when you grow up? What does God want you to be when you grow up? And you know, the interesting thing about that question is, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can still be asking that question. You can be 60 years old and be asking, what does God want you to be when you grow up? Because I've known a lot of 60-year-olds who haven't grown up yet. Knowing my luck, I'm probably right there on the path with Father Ziggy to be one of them. But take care to guard against all greed. For though one may be rich, one's life does not consist of possessions. Our life is not the things of this world. Every single thing we build up, somebody else is going to tear down in this world. Everything you build up. If you build a nice house for your family, someday somebody's going to let it fall into ruin and tear it down. If you build up a nice business, at some point you will retire and somebody else will come along and ruin it. Or they'll just say, I feel like closing up, and never pass it on to another generation. The beautiful church we have here, someday someone will tear it down, either because they just don't like the way it looks, or because something fell apart, or it just got old enough that it wore out. everything of this world will fall apart. If you exercise every day, you're still going to die. Aren't I a cheerful priest? You can diet all you want, and it may extend your life. As they say, you could live 10 years longer if you don't eat bacon. 10 long baconless years. What are you living for? Why do you go to school? Why do you go to work? Why do you say what you say to your children, to your friends, to your parents? Why do you do it all? If you just want them to live longer, you're going to fail. If you just want them to be wealthy, all that wealth will go to nothing the day they die, because you can't take it with you when you go. But what lasts? What lasts is heaven. What lasts is being with Jesus Christ. What lasts is our relationship with one another. How much do we put that as a priority? Sports teams. Doesn't matter how many practices you go to, eventually your body will wear out and you can't do it anymore. Even if it's something easy like swimming, your body will wear out. But your relationship with Jesus Christ never will. When we come in prayer and build that relationship with Him, we're building what will last for eternity. When we encourage our kids to come to Mass, if they're adult children and you say, just come with me once in a while at least, come with me Christmas and Easter, we're at least telling them it's important to keep coming, because that's the relationship that endures. When we work on our relationships with the people that have insulted us and hurt us, or the people we've insulted or hurt, we're working on the things that really last. Think of somebody you know who's died. Think of somebody you know who has died. That little bit of hurt in your heart thinking of them is just a reminder that the love has not stopped. That relationship endures beyond death. And this is what Christ is calling us to. Christ is calling us to build up treasure for ourselves in what matters to God. And this is the commandment of God. Love one another as I have loved you. When you look at the 10 Commandments, when you look at the Beatitudes, when you look at any of the commandments of God, they all fall into this. Love one another as I have loved you. Look at that cross for a second and realize that that's what God has done for you. How will you respond to Him? He says you're worth dying for. What will you sacrifice for Him? What will you give up for Him? It says elsewhere in Scripture, I have plans for you. Plans for your welfare, not for woe. Plans for a life of abundance, full of hope. Will you follow His plan for you? Will you ask not, what do I want to be when I grow up? But what does God want for me? And how is God calling me to be a saint?